Welcome to Cellmates, the podcast where we
take two animated movies, compare, contrast, and put them into a Venn diagram for fun.
That's cool. I'm Dick Ward.
I'm Kate Phillips.
Hey, Kate Phillips. How are you?
Great.
Good.
This
good
intro
to hear
does
it.
go faster if we tag team it, because I feel like it's a lot of pressure to remember all of that and, like, keep energy up for the beginning of the show.
Yeah. Do you want to just try this again?
No.
Oh, God. So this is a podcast where we... wait, we already said that part.
The movies we do
Yep.
are often Disney,
But not always.
often musicals,
But not always.
often good.
But not always. Today's a fun one.
This is great. No, here's what I think.
Yeah.
Dick, to honor the movies we're doing today,
Yeah.
I think we don't take out any mistakes. We just kind of give them our first draft, and this is fine.
But I put like a real digital sheen on this audio somehow.
Yeah, like if you can see some like human hands and feet, not a
Yeah.
problem.
Okay, so people, I assume.
Oh, wait, Dick.
What?
Happy continued cat meowth.
Happy continued cat meow, Kate Phillips.
You cool cats and kittens.
Yeah,
Which-
people are. I assume that have downloaded this episode that are about to play it have looked at the title. I don't know how you do
Yeah.
it without. Some people.
I guess it can like
maybe
autoplay if you're finishing a different episode.
So you probably know what movies we're talking about, and we're very excited to talk about them.
We are.
Because we have strong feelings about both of these movies.
Very strong opinions.
But Kate, what are you drinking?
Well, cool cat and kitten.
Yeah.
I'll get that in because it's like it's past its prime
How many
of
times
relatability.
are we gonna get that in?
That's it, just
Okay.
two.
I'm gonna get one more.
I'm just saying we didn't mention Tiger King at all last Cat Meowth episode.
Did we not?
Where it would have been more relevant because people aren't over it. The pop culture cycle goes very quickly in quarantine.
Yeah, so
Like-
now everyone's like kind of past Tiger King
Yeah.
and being like, well, it's a little problematic. It's a little.
Because it is.
It's like, okay, yeah, but
Yeah.
Let us just enjoy it for a little bit. Let us enjoy the Tiger King.
Well, Dick, I am drinking.
What am I drinking?
Well,
what
that's
are
a
we
great-
drinking? Because I do not know.
Because, looking at it, you can't really tell what it is.
Yeah.
It is something I'm calling Ghost Shandy. Because it is Ghost Brewery Northeast IPA with ginger ale. It's really just soda stream water and ginger syrup, but that's
Yeah.
what ginger ale is
This
too.
maybe could have used more ginger syrup.
So that's interesting. I thought that the ginger syrup was a little bit too strong.
Oh, maybe that's
in
what
it.
it is.
Yeah.
It could
We
use
can.
a little,
There is a little bit more beer to add to it.
you
if
know
we
what?
wanna-
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
So, Ghost, because, sometimes when you look up at the sky,
Yeah.
you could see a ghost.
Yeah, and sometimes
Sometimes
you're like,
you
look,
can't."
you may be in a bad place right now, but at least you had a really good life at some point.
And you had beautiful
Beautiful ghosts.
ghosts
Yeah.
that looked like ghosts and not just clouds with dots lighting up in
Right.
it.
That's correct.
Also, we're mixing two things together that probably
Shouldn't be mixed.
ill-advised,
No.
but we're doing it anyway.
Yes. And we're doing it all the way. We are not doubting ourselves.
That's
We're just
right.
going
just
for
going
it.
for it and not fixing anything in it.
Yes. Or trying to fix too many things.
What we wanted to do
Yeah.
if we were able to go out and about for quarantine is, Dick,
yeah.
you found a beer a couple weeks ago and we knew we were going to do this
Oh
episode.
my God.
What was it called?
We didn't know we'd be locked down,
Right.
so I didn't get it. It's called Scary Movie Lion.
I think Fear Movie Lion.
Fear
but
movie,
yeah.
something like that. It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
It's exactly what we need because today we are talking about Lion King 2019 and Cats 2019. Who knew 2019 was going to be such a big year for terrifying
Movie Lion.
cinematic cats?
Well, so, Kate, Cats? That's a movie starring real people. And Lion King is a live action remake. How are these at all animated movies?
Digital fur technology.
Yeah. We'll get more into that later.
These are both. So Lion King 2019, Disney calls an animated movie.
And it is, except for one shot.
Yeah, one shot in the Circle of Life
Yeah.
is landscape, like real landscape,
Yeah.
but all the
But that's
characters
it.
in it are digital. All the landscapes are digital. And so Cats is a little bit of a departure from our normal
Not
podcast
really.
format. Well, I'd say
Not
it's
really.
closer to like Roger Rabbit, but it's more animated than Roger Rabbit.
I disagree.
The sets are real
I disagree that it's
and
like
half
Roger
green
Rabbit.
screen.
It's like Dinosaur. Dinosaur had real backgrounds
Yeah,
with animated characters over them.
this is fair. This is fair. Yeah.
It's not a departure at all.
Yeah. All
It's
right.
all digital characters over a real background.
Yeah.
Dinosaur did this.
Yeah. Except for Judi Dench's hands.
Except for Judi Dench's hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, these movies have to be done together. For the digital fur technology, they are remakes, or I think the better term is misunderstandings
Yeah.
of existing titles.
Yeah.
The Lion King being an animated movie that came out in 1994,
Yeah.
and Cats being a Broadway musical from 81. And what year is that stage production filmed? Is that
I want to say
88 or 98?
I want to say 88.
Yeah.
It looks nice, but it looks 80s-y.
I mean,
So I'm gonna
Cats
say 88.
forever is stuck in the
Kate-
1980s.
Yeah,
There's-
Cats is what it is. So Kate, let's start with Cats. Do you want to give the plot of Cats, or do you want to give the 2 minutes of Lion King?
The what of Cats?
The 2 minutes of Cats or the 2 minutes of Lion King?
I'll do Cats.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your experience, your history with Cats the musical?
Yeah.
And then this movie, Cats.
So, being a musical theater person, I was aware of Cats
Yeah.
early on. Pretty repulsed by it. I refused to see any version
Say more.
of it.
Why? Why repulsed?
So, Cats is famously a musical without a plot.
Mm-hmm.
It is based on a poetry anthology by T.S. Eliot,
Mm-hmm.
just about a bunch of cats with goofy names. And Andrew Lloyd Webber decided to make it into a musical.
Yeah.
I think musical is a generous term for this kind of review.
Yeah, and I've pushed back on you a lot when you say something is not a musical. But a musical to me is like a stage production or like a movie production where there is a plot ongoing and there is singing.
There is,
And this, like, the stage production is absolutely not a musical because there's not a through line. There's not really an ongoing
It's all
plot.
singing,
It's
but-
it's characters kind of introducing themselves. It's more like a character cabaret or something.
Yeah.
That's not to say
Where
it's-
everyone is on stage the whole time.
and that's not a judgment of it. If you love Cats, or the 2019 Lion King, you might have a rough listen of this.
Oh, we were going to set Dick.
No,
here's-
after intros.
We're going to, okay. All right.
So, yeah, but it's not really a musical.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I refused to see it because my mom had seen it and fell asleep during it. And like my mom likes musicals and is a sane person, but she couldn't understand it, so I didn't. So I largely ignored Cats.
Yeah.
The most familiar I was with it up until seeing this movie was the parodies in the Pinky and the Brain episode Broadway Malady, where Pinky and the Brain create Mice the musical, but then Pinky it takes off and there's a lovely Jellicle Cats and Memory spoof in it, and that's like I still can't totally sing the melody to Memory, but I can sing the Pinky version.
Does Brain make Rent? Am I remember that correctly?
Brain makes Angst.
Yeah,
The
so
musical.
Rent.
So kind of Rent, but it is worse.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that might only be like a year or two after Rent, so it might be too close to
Nice.
truly parody.
Good job,
Anyway,
man.
and then my high school did it after I left, and that I guess people had a good time doing it, but my brother worked on the like stage crew and also doesn't really care for cats,
Yeah.
so it didn't convince everyone.
Yeah.
And yeah, seeing it, so I saw it in the theaters.
You saw the movie in the
movie in the theaters,
right.
like a couple days after it came out, and I saw it with you and my brother.
Was it any particular day?
It was it Christmas Day,
It was
sir?
the day after Christmas.
It's the day after Christmas, sir. And what an experience.
Yeah.
What a ride. Yeah, you think when something comes out that has the kind of reviews that Cats had at the beginning, you're like, well, it can't be that fun the whole time, like that
Right.
awesomely bad the whole time. It is.
Yeah.
And we've now watched it 2 times,
Yeah,
started
2
a third, but abandoned it.
Well, yeah.
Tom Hooper was boring.
But that's commentary. So we've watched it 2 times.
We watched it 2 times and delightful.
Enjoyed it both times.
It is
Yeah.
terrible. It's a terrible movie in my estimation.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
So there you go. Dick, what about you?
So I had a little more knowledge of Cats, the musical. My grandmother was a big Weber fan, so she had like a Best of Weber CD, and I think she had Cats on CD and like Phantom and stuff like that. So I knew a lot of the songs going into it. I knew the overture really well. I knew Mr. Mistopheles really well because I think that was on the Best of Weber CD that we had. And of course I knew Memories. Or Memory.
Memory, right?
Memory,
Singular
yeah.
memory. Okay.
And I had never seen Cats, but I'd heard of it. And of course, I'd seen like the Kimmy Schmidt episode, which posits that Cats doesn't exist and was just made up on the spot.
It's just a 30-year improv experiment.
Which is a great episode. Even if you haven't watched any of Kimmy Schmidt before, but you want to appreciate like some in-theater jokes and a really fun reveal.
And Norm Lewis.
And Norm Lewis, yeah. It's really, really a great episode. But yeah, I hadn't seen the show until, I mean, I still haven't seen the show, but we saw the movie in the theater. Yes. Kate, do you want to set a cookie timer?
So normally at this time we explain the plot of a movie.
I'll
just kind of walk us through.
I think you are being unfair. This movie has...
It does have more of a plot than the stage version.
The stage version has almost no through line or plot. Right. This absolutely has a plot. You can judge that plot, but it has one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Here I go.
2 minutes. Go.
Are you blind when you're born? Can you see in the dark? If you can, then you're Jellicle Cat. There's a lot of things that Jellicle Cats can do, and it's really unclear. Anyway, this white cat, Victoria, gets tossed into Jellicle Cat land, London, and basically the cats introduce themselves one cat at a time, and then you find out it's because they are auditioning for Judi Dench Cat, Old Deuteronomy, to go to the Heaviside Layer as one of their 9 lives, or as like the 10th life. It's kind of unclear. So you meet Gumby Cat, you meet Bustopher Jones Cat, you meet some twins who cause some trouble, and you meet Grisabella, who's kind of the through-line cat.
Just going to leave out Jason
Well,
Derulo?
Hold on. There's a lot of cats. You can't mention them all in 2 minutes. Grisabella was a glamour cat, but she, dealt with Macavity, the evil cat, too much. And so she kind of ended up out on the streets and shunned by the cat community. Meanwhile, Macavity also wants to go to the Heaviside Layer, so he has been catnapping cats after their performances because he's a magical cat. And he makes them go to this ship with Growl Tiger, and so a bunch of cats end up there. And then he comes after Skimbleshanks twirl, poof, into the sky. He comes and he kidnaps Old Deuteronomy, and then Mr. Mistopheles, the actual magic cat, but who could do magic less than Macavity, has to try to get her back. And after like a bunch of times of singing his songs, he does it. And Old Deuteronomy grants Grisabella Heaviside Layer winner. It's her Jellicle choice because she sings a really great song, like truly great. And Macavity tries to catch her hot air balloon chandelier as she goes to the Heaviside Layer, but doesn't and falls. And then Judi Dench talks to us for like 15 minutes about how a cat is not a dog, and then it's done.
Kate, for claiming that show had no plot, you didn't get it in 2 minutes.
Well, I did.
No, the alarm went off. For complaining that show had no plot.
Are you telling me Judi Dench's 15-minute speech at the end is part of the plot of Cats?
It sounds like you thought it was part of the plot of Cats. So, I mean, but it really is a simple plot. It is a bunch of cats want to win a contest. Mm-hmm. There's a bad cat that is kidnapping them. Mm-hmm. I don't like catnapping. I don't accept that as a joke.
And so what's new? So some of the things you're talking about are not in the musical. Like McCavity doesn't kidnap cats.
Right.
He just has a song at the end.
The only thing that seems to happen in the musical is that Mr. Mistopheles conjures up Old Deuteronomy.
But where was Old Deuteronomy?
Old Deuteronomy, I don't know.
Because he comes out before.
Old Dude might be missing at that point or something.
Kidnapped by McCavity?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, by the way, if you had a hard time following that, let's just say some names of cats.
Sure.
Because they need to be said.
Skimbleshanks.
Old Deuteronomy.
Monkastrap.
Mongo Jerry.
Rumpelteazer.
Growl Tiger.
Bumblesoxer.
What? That one's fake. I think.
How would you know?
How would you possibly
Tinker
know?
Tanker. Like
Rum Tum Tugger. Yeah. Floop de Doop. Like
Jenny Any Dots.
Jenny Any Dots. All one word. Jenny Any Dots. All one word. That's cat. There you go.
Victoria.
Oh yeah,
She should get a real cat name. They have a whole song about how there's like 6 different names a cat has from birth to death, and Victoria only gets 1.
Well, a cat has 3 different names.
She becomes a Jellicle cat, but she doesn't get a Jellicle name. Is she just Grisabella now? Like, is it like that when someone leaves the community, then that's the next name that gets
Judi
passed on?
Dench is going to give her a Jellicle name.
She had 15 minutes and she didn't. So.
Well, yeah, but she had to tell us that a cat is not a dog. Mm-hmm. So, Kate.
So, Dick.
We watched another movie.
We did.
It's called The Lion King.
It's called that.
What is your experience with The Lion King original and The Lion King 2019?
The Lion King original is my most favorite movie of all time. And I recognize no other movie by that name beyond this podcast.
I went to the bathroom 7 times. It's my favorite movie of all time.
I was not a fan of these live action remakes anyway, just the idea of them.
Yeah.
I didn't hate Beauty and the Beast as much as you did. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
You're incorrect about Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, that's probably true. But then they started announcing just everything else, and I'm like, guys, this is a bad idea.
Can I throw something out there real quick? What about 101 Dalmatians?
Like, that was fine.
Right?
But it also, like, fit into... There were a lot of movies in the 90s of, like, someone and dogs.
Yeah.
Like, that would just fit a regular trend that was happening of, like, Beethoven and Homeward Bound and stuff.
If you're, like, list all the terrible live-action remakes, that one never comes to my mind.
No.
Because it was, like, fine.
Yeah.
Huh.
And, I mean, and also, I think, timing-wise... 101 Dalmatians doesn't necessarily come out at a time where people who grew up with it have like this kind of idolatry level affection for it.
Yeah. And
because home video started when we were kids.
Right.
So, you know, our parents maybe saw that movie in the theater once.
But they didn't have every second of it memorized.
Right.
I think also it was probably not advertised as, finally, the greatest movie ever made.
Is people
made
now.
Again.
So my initial, like hearing that Aladdin was being remade, it's like, all right, well, you know, Steve from Full House, maybe not the best representation of a Middle Eastern character.
And it stars humans. It could be fun to see some humans. And the genie is like crazy, and he's basically like he's like a fully animated character. So if you do him CG, this could make sense. And
I see, like, so Jungle Book is the first animal movie that gets remade, right? Yeah. And, like, because I don't care about Jungle Book, I didn't think it was a good idea, but I'm like, I don't care.
I don't know if it was good or bad.
Then Lion King gets announced, And I mean, furious from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, really, like, who asked for this?
Yeah.
Do you understand that there's going to be singing, dancing, realistic-looking lions? Has anyone thought about how terrifying that's going to look? No.
Once the character posters came out,
Those character posters, it seemed like a joke. All
Yeah.
the lions look the same because lions look the same.
yeah, lions just kind of look like lions.
They kind of look like lions. So
Yeah.
you put Mufasa and Simba there.
They look the same.
They didn't.
Or
yeah.
Nala and Sarabi.
Nala, Sarabi, and I think Nala's mom, the name is escaping me right now.
Nala mom.
No, it's another, it's like Serena or
Great. It doesn't
Anyway,
matter. Literally doesn't matter.
but yeah, it's like all three of them were released as posters. It's like, what?
It's like, why did you release character posters?
And like baby Simba and Nala look almost identical.
So bad.
Dick,
Yeah.
tell us about your experience with The Lion King up through 2019.
Well, I've
and
talked
today.
about my experience with The Lion King before. I watched it as a kid. I loved it. And then like I kind of fell off of like a Disney thing for a while. And Lion King is like a little more kiddie at the beginning.
Okay.
So it's like, as a teenager, I'm kind of like, I don't want to watch this kid that can't wait to be like, as a teenage boy, it's hard to watch a boy child because you're just embarrassed about everything that boy child does because it's basically you, but you're like a little older, a little cooler.
So you identified with like half-second log teen Simba. The one with like the weird scraggly hair.
No, as a teenage boy, you don't identify with any of it.
You know, okay.
Yeah. So, but then as an adult rewatching it, it's just a masterpiece. Yeah. My experience with 2019 Lion King is calming you down every time more things got announced about it. Excuse me. Is watching it with you. I still would argue that we haven't watched the movie.
Well,
Because we watched it once and it was a lot of you yelling at the TV. So
to be fair, you yelled at the TV too.
but it was a lot of you yelling at the TV.
Yeah.
And then the second time we watched it was with director's commentary. So we've probably missed a lot of dialogue. But yeah, that's that. You want to set a cookie timer so I can
do.
explain the plot?
I do. And 2 cookie minutes on the clock. Go.
The Lion King. We're just gonna sit here for 2 minutes. No, so it's The Lion King. You probably know The Lion King. If you don't know The Lion King, go listen to our Lion King episode. I'm gonna explain.
Okay.
I'm gonna explain some of the changes to the plot.
Great.
There is a Shenzi is the hyena leader now and doesn't appear with the rest of the hyenas, and Scar has to rally them. He like befriends the hyenas. There's poop. There's a big poop that gets rolled around full of Simba's hair.
Major character.
There are lions. There's a warthog and a meerkat.
These aren't differences.
No, I that's all I got.
Say more. No, this is unfair. I had to do all cats.
All right. Simba's a baby lion, and he grows up, and he wants to be a king, and then his dad dies, and Scar is like, "Rrr," and like punches him in the face, because Scar like kills his dad, and then Simba runs away, and then he meets this warthog and this meerkat, and they become best friends, and they grow up. But then, oh no, Nala comes back. Nala's like his friend from when he was a little kid, and she's like, yo, you got to come back. You got to be the king. And he's like, oh, I don't want to be the king. I killed my dad. And she's like, no, come back and be the king. He goes back, he kicks Scar's ass, and then he bees the king.
Yeah.
I still got 30 seconds.
You got 30 seconds.
So at one point, Simba is like sitting there or like scratching himself or something, and a piece of hair flies off of him. And that piece of hair lands in like a river. And then it like comes out of the river, and a bird puts it on a nest. But then it blows off the nest, and a giraffe eats it. And the giraffe poops it out. and then you see a dung beetle rolling some poop. I got to keep going with this. And the dung beetle's poop breaks, and then once the dung beetle's poop breaks, then like an ant picks up the hair, and then I think the ant takes it by Rafiki, who smells it, realizes it's Simba, and then takes his battle staff out of a tree.
I have retained so little of detail from the 2 watchings of this movie.
Yeah, I know.
Because there's no color contrast.
No.
Ever.
No.
In the movie. It's like watching that Transformers movie or like a poorly shot black and white movie.
Yeah, to be clear, we hate this movie.
Yeah, it's a chore.
So now we had...
Yeah.
If you're a regular listener of this show, you know about Cookie Timer. We set a 2-minute timer. It goes, cookies are done, cookies are done. We're going to set a new timer today because we are aware of our bias. And we want to be fair. So let's say every 12 minutes.
Sure.
Every 12 minutes, an alarm will go off, and we'll have to say something nice about one or both of these movies.
Yep. Can we preview the sound so we know what to sing with it?
It'll be... I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. So we'll just hear it.
All right. I mean, so Dick, what is it animated? Like, what makes these movies animated films? And we kind of touched on it earlier. We kind of touched
on it, but I think it's worth exploring further. So, Lion King's easy because even though it's released at the same time as all the live action remakes, and it is aiming for a more realistic approach, it is absolutely like 99% animated.
Yeah.
The only part that isn't animated is a single establishing shot, like towards the very beginning of the film.
Yeah, in like Lebo's opening of Circle of Life.
Yeah, and everything else is animated.
Yeah. Which is, I feel like I heard at one time that they were going to be using like dinosaur backgrounds.
Yeah. You just like shooting real backgrounds and then animating over it.
And they did they shot green screens with real cameras. Right?
What?
Like that's what do you think Jon Favreau meant when he was talking about all those camera shots and long lenses? And that's not all in a computer.
Yeah.
They had actual camera grips, right? That's how I understood it.
They have actual camera grips, and it's all in a computer. So what they have, and they do this in Lord of the Rings too. We listened to the commentary, and Favreau was very good at explaining some of the technology, and also saying, you know what, I don't know if people are going to like this, but just we all worked really hard on
in
this.
The first 5 minutes, like in Circle of Life, he makes a comment. I've only seen this with people that worked on the film. I haven't seen it with a real audience. So, we hope it's going to be well received, but we don't know. But everyone worked really hard.
Just know that a lot of people worked really hard on this. It's like
and we looked at each other. We're like, oh, Jon Favreau knows that this didn't work. He knows that it tanked.
So what they did is they would set up a virtual space. They would create a background and the character actors, and they would use basically they'd hold a thing and that would act like a camera.
So like a video game controller.
Like a video game,
okay.
Yeah. So they'd hold like something that felt like a real camera, so that a cameraman could still, use use
their technical skills.
Yeah, and use the muscle, and it has the controls of a camera.
Yeah.
But they're seeing a virtual world.
So they have VR helmets on.
Possibly,
essentially.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that's not what I was envisioning.
Yeah.
When he was describing that. Okay. That's neat.
Yeah. It's
that
really
it's
neat.
not and that's why it looks more. I mean, he uses the word documentary. What would you say, 70 times in his commentary?
They really aim for a documentary feel, which they succeed with more towards the beginning and far less towards the end. But they're really aiming for documentary realness.
Yeah. So much so that the way that Jon Favreau talks, like, laughs out loud about the lack of emotion that the faces can do. Like, I wondered in this commentary whether Jon Favreau was overruled in making the lions talk.
Yeah.
Like, out loud, as opposed to Homeward Bound, where it's like Michael J. Fox is narrating for the character, but the dog's mouth is not moving to Michael J. Fox's words.
It's like how Garfield talks. It's just
right.
Yeah, and that's we're speculating at this point, but that's a theme that's been repeated in multiple movies. Dinosaur, for one, was originally supposed to be no
dialogue at all.
Land Before Time was originally supposed to be no dialogue. So that's something that animators have wanted to go for, and then it's not worked out.
Yeah.
So I also wonder if maybe Lion King, they thought like, well, let's do this with no dialogue. Let's make this super real. And then Disney was like, well, no one's going to come see it if they can't hear Circle of Life.
Beyonce has called us. We need to redo this whole movie.
We'd like to get some stars involved. Yeah, so it's really interesting speculating about what the original plan might have been.
And in Cats, too, because speaking of animation, you look at the renderings for the original cat designs, and they look a lot better and a lot more animated, like fully immersive of the actors than what turns out on the screen.
So again, to clarify, is that Cats is mainly real or
they filmed,
often real sets.
Yeah, they filmed real actors on sometimes real sets and mixture of green screen.
Right.
And the actors are wearing motion capture technology, but not fully so, or at least they wore it. There's like some conflicting reports about what Tom Hooper made his visual effects team do.
Yeah, it seems like they wore the... It seems less like the motion capture was the like the lines that you draw between, and more like the lines that you draw around. If that makes sense.
Okay.
It was more like it seems like it was more like this motion capture is a guide for you.
So it's just here's where the shoulder is. Here's where the...
That's kind of what I got from it.
Because that's... Yeah, the visual effects team has talked about how they just basically had to paint every scene.
Yeah.
Which is a longer process, and it takes more effort, and that would explain why the movie wasn't really done by the time it premiered.
Yeah, at the premiere, Tom Hooper said, I just finished this
draft,
night.
like at midnight. Yeah.
So it's an interesting difference in approaches.
Dick, if you were to describe the like generalized look of these cats to someone who has never seen a still, never seen the trailer, like how would you describe how these cats look?
Well, first I want to describe what they did look like. They looked like cats in the original digital tests, which we saw on we tried to listen to the commentary, and Tom Hooper is the most boring man on earth, so we did not get through it. But we watched all the behind the scenes features, and the original digital cat effect looked like cats. Like it was still a person, but they were like fully covered in fur. So for this version, it's a little bit... it reminds me of the Who's in the Grinch Stole Christmas movie, where it's like there's a bunch of like... There's cat except for their face.
Yeah.
And there's a fade between the fur and the actor's face.
Yeah.
And so they have human noses and cat ears.
But they have kind of... I'd say they have... I'd have to look at a picture. I think their noses are altered. I'm thinking of like...
Their entire face is like weirdly smoothed.
It's weirdly smoothed, yeah. So they wore, in the footage we saw, they were wearing face makeup
Yeah.
as if they were on stage.
I think like as a reference.
Yeah, but then they ran out of time to add fur to it. And yeah, they have whiskers.
They have
real
whiskers,
noses.
but they have human noses.
Okay.
Human eyebrows, which is a great choice.
Yeah.
You need eyebrows.
That's
human eyebrows or
something Lion
cat
King was
eyebrows
missing.
or something. And then they have human lips.
Yeah.
So their faces are human. Their hands are human. And in most cases,
their hands are human, but sorry,
in
you're
most
about to say
cases,
it.
like skin colored.
Skin. So that is a more of a mixed bag. A lot of them have something that looks like fur. It's not as detailed as the fur on the rest of their body.
Yeah.
But a lot of them have fur like up to the fingers or like halfway up the fingers. So it kind of looks like cat gloves almost.
Right.
But not
if-
all of them.
If they have a shirt with cuffs, then the fur ends at the wrist and they just have human
Yeah.
hands.
So I think this was like you talk about MVP in your coding world.
Right.
Which
is
means
like most minimum viable product.
Right.
Like let's get the smallest thing out that still looks like what we're going to make.
So yeah, I think these hands for like so Mistopheles has like kind of like a suit jacket type of thing.
Yeah.
And Old Deuteronomy has a fur coat.
Right.
And so their hands just look like hands.
Yeah.
Like Mistopheles are maybe colored. Judi Dench's are not. They are human skin, like Judi Dench colored hands.
Yeah. She's got a wedding ring on.
Yeah, she's got a. I think the ring is part of the costume.
I know, but it just looks.
But like, I think right, if this movie premiered on a Tuesday, I think this was a decision that was made on Saturday
Yeah.
when it's like, oh, we can't get everything done. Well, they have cuffs, so it looks less weird if their hands are
Yeah.
regular as opposed to the cat where it's just smooth from
So
shoulder to
The
fingertip.
other human part of these animals that we see human is their feet. So a lot of these cats are wearing shoes, so it doesn't look weird. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you see a human foot
yeah.
instead of a cat foot, it's very strange.
Yeah, it's the
looking.
toes, right?
The toes and like the heel,
Uh-huh.
because human
Yeah.
legs don't go the way cat legs go. It just looks different.
I mean, this is a fundamental, right? Like,
Yeah.
they had human hands and feet on a stage,
Right.
too. But because of this heightened cat reality and because you can't see, like, on stage it's done convincingly if you like what you're looking at. Like,
Right, and
that it's like you have makeup and you have costume and headpieces, but, like, you can see that it's makeup and you can see that it's...
You know
a
it's people,
headpiece.
but also you're looking at people in a costume. You know.
There's a weird uncanny valley in this movie that's somewhere between suspended disbelief
Yeah.
and complete digital with that it just doesn't work.
Yeah, when we watched the behind the scenes feature and they were showing scenes where people are just like in like partial costume
their, like,
and
green
mocap
suits and-
suits,
yeah.
I'm like, I would rather watch this. I would rather watch people in cat costumes.
Because it looks like human movement.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens in this movie, because it's a dance show, like that's all like
Absolutely a dance show.
it's a dance
Yeah.
show. Is that because it's
The 12-minute alarm has gone off. Kate,
there are so many good dancers in Cats.
there are so many good dancers and cats. That's a nice
Francesca,
thing.
the one who plays Victoria, and Robbie Fairchild were kind
Haywood,
of
I believe.
yes, Francesca Haywood, and is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I believe
And
so.
Robbie Fairchild play kind of the two cats who are on the screen the most. It's like a narrator and a ingenue.
Yeah, there are main characters.
And they are professional ballet dancers.
Yeah.
They are awesome. Like,
And Robbie Fairchild has done some like TV and
he's done
movies
TV and
before,
Broadway.
right?
I think he was in American in Paris.
Yeah.
And so, like, he can sing. He's good at
Francesca Haywood or Hayward. I forget.
Hayward,
I
maybe.
never heard of before.
yeah.
I think she's only really done like
Ballet.
stage ballet. Her facial expressions,
Yeah.
were like she was probably my favorite actor in this movie.
Yeah.
She didn't get many lines, but like I knew what she was. I knew what emotion she was going for. Her dancing is fantastic.
Yeah. And at the same time, the dancing becomes goofy looking.
Yes.
Because of this digital fur technology.
Because there's no. Yeah.
That it makes the borders between the end of a human, like the foreground of the human and anything that's behind them, really choppy and like glitchy almost. And so these like smooth, graceful moves are kind of turned into these more, I don't want to even say pixelated, but it's jerky.
That's interesting that you say that, because I feel the exact opposite way.
Interesting.
I think the movement is too smooth. I think because humans move pretty smoothly, right? But like if you actually trace, like I'm moving my arm left to right now, but if you actually traced it, I would not be moving it perfectly level left to right. It would be like kind of uppy downy. It would be a little shaky.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's something that kind of ruined the dancing for me.
Yeah.
Is that, like, I bet there were better dancers and worse dancers. And they were all, like, I just put it out there. These dancers are amazing.
There's a specific segment in the behind the scenes featurettes on the dancers, and you're like, whoa, like Les Twin, the French like street dancers, they're amazing to watch live because they are doing like these pop and lock and smooth. They like look like they're animated when you watch them, and then you see them as cats, and you're like, well, this just looks kind of shitty like everything. Like I can tell that the dancer underneath is doing some cool moves, but the intricacies of what these people do so well is totally lost.
And that's one of the dancers. I forget her name. She was the like modern dance. She was like kind of a hip hop dancer.
I think she plays Cassandra the cat.
And
that doesn't mean anything because she doesn't introduce herself, so we don't know her name.
She described dancing as like you are pushing yourself to the edge of falling, and then you recover gracefully. She's like, that's kind of what dance is. And when the characters don't have a specific gravity, and when you know they're not going to fall and they're not at any risk, dance doesn't look impressive.
Well, and
I've never seen digital dance that is anything to me.
And in many cases, they were not able to fall because they're on harnesses, and they're like actually flying through the scene, which is a thing that I didn't assume watching the movie. I just thought it was all green screen. You know, they like go on a tiptoe and then they just carry that image.
But also, I would love to see people flying around on harnesses. It's awesome.
Yeah.
We just watched One Day at Disney short about the Finding Nemo show, which we saw at
Animal
Kingdom. We loved it. And they're like on harnesses the whole show, and it's super impressive. And you see the harness. It's fine.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. There's so much about cats where I'm like, if the digital stuff wasn't there, would it be a better movie?
Yeah, suspended disbelief is what musical theater is all about, right? And a show conceived for the stage, when you're transferring a show conceived for any type of medium, when you transfer it to another medium, this is a theme that has come up on this podcast.
A lot, yeah.
It's really hard to do it successfully because so much of the original storytelling and directing and concept is derived out of the medium itself.
Yeah. Could you give an example of musicals that have come to movie form successfully?
Chicago?
Yeah, Chicago's a great one.
Kind of, I mean, the kind of Busby Berkeley, like the grand, just where the whole premise is, I'm really impressed because there's 100 people dancing together at one time.
But I think a lot of those were movie musicals.
They were movies first, yeah.
I would say like Little Shop of Horrors, the movie. I really like. I
disagree with that.
I know you're not the biggest fan of it, but I think it's really successful. I think How to Succeed in Business
I have not seen that movie.
is pretty good. It's a really long movie, but it's a musical, right? And I think that one's pretty successful. I think there are a few musicals that have worked going from stage to film. Maybe Cabaret. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think you have to be able to do some staging, right? That would not typically be done in film. Yeah. And I think Cats gets this part way, right? The giant sets, even though the scaling, they say it's always 2.5.
The scaling is...
You know, someone had a different concept of what 2.5 meant in every single
We're being
corner
very
of the
restrained
set.
on Cats right now. Kate, can we just take a moment to talk about Jenny Anydots?
Yeah, let's just go to the Gumby Cat scene.
So here's the thing. This
Excuse me.
Cats the musical and Cats the movie is, we see a cat.
Yeah.
That cat introduces themselves,
Yeah.
sings a song, we move on.
And then we like never really hear from them again. They
Yeah.
just kind of follow along
just
like a dancing troupe.
Over and over, except for some reason Jenny Anydots, we just don't stop hearing from her.
Well, in the movie.
So it's Rebel Wilson. Mm-hmm. She's a cat.
She's a cat. She is not really a singer. She's not really a dancer.
No.
She's funny in Pitch Perfect, but she's not always funny.
No. And so the thing about Cats is it's based on poems of T.S. Eliot that are just kind of observations about cats.
Yeah, he
So-
didn't mean for them to be connected.
And it's not supposed to be a grand thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Gumby Cat is a kind of funny little poem because it's like, oh, this is this fat, lazy cat that just sits around all day. But then at night, it's like nonstop moving around and doing things.
And she teaches some
I've
mice
had-
and cockroaches
Yeah,
how to
but
sing and dance.
I've had a cat like that. I
Mm-hmm.
had a cat that like just laid around all day, and then at night while I was trying to sleep, it's like getting up to stuff, and I have
Yeah.
to go figure out what's going on. That's a cute little poem. Mm-hmm. Instead of a cute little poem, which I think this works in, we get this giant scene, and
Yeah.
as you said,
So I think Cats is hard to talk about in terms of media transfer because my personal opinion is that Cats the musical is stupid. Like I don't think it works.
I think there is a right audience for it.
Yeah.
I don't think you are it.
No.
I don't necessarily think I am it, but I would like to see it, to be honest. After seeing this movie, I'm like, I just want to see where it came from.
Yeah, that's there's a curiosity there.
Yeah.
But
Which
anyway,
curiosity,
so this is like
killed the cat.
the first real scene that you get that's not just a bunch of cats like clamoring around Victoria and saying a bunch of things that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
It's
'cause
the
the
first introduction song.
it's the first solo song.
It's what the rest of the movie is going to be.
Yeah.
And like already, Rebel Wilson, not your strongest performer in this
No.
movie, probably the weakest performer
And
in this movie.
definitely the most annoying.
And you think it's okay to open with comedy, but it's not very funny. And this is a scene where you really, the scaling just drives you wild
And
because they're in a
digital
junkyard
drives
before.
you nuts.
Yeah. So like the sink is like 3 times the size of her, but the table is like the same height as her ish. And it's like, well, what is this kitchen? This is like a weird Pee Wee Herman
Yeah.
kitchen. And then
It's also tricky because cats don't stand on their hind legs. So if she's standing on her hind legs, how tall is this thing compared to if she's like on all fours?
Right.
Or so the scaling is weird.
the scaling is weird with objects. And then she opens the cupboard to her mice choir.
She's got a bunch of mice.
Not only are they played by children, which was Rebel Wilson's idea, we learned from Tom Hooper.
Not only are they really poorly digitally animated.
Even more so than the cats.
Yeah, they look Shrekky.
They are like the size of like the cat's eyeball.
They
I
are
want to
the
say.
I would say that they are the size of mice compared to humans.
Yes, yes.
But
But cats are smaller than humans.
so these are all like cockroach-sized mice. Mm-hmm. And in fact, they're the same size as the cockroaches
About the same
that
size
later
as the
appear.
cockroaches. Yeah.
So the scaling is way off, and it's confusing. And why are they children singing as mice? And why do some of them look happy and some of them look scared? And they know she's gonna eat them.
Yeah.
Because she says, "Oh, dinner and a show." So why are they not running? Why did she train them? And like in the stage musical, it's cats pretending to be these mice, and it's kind of a funny thing. But in the movie, it's children mice.
Terrifying.
What is happening?
I mean, also in this scene, she unzips her fur to reveal like a cocktail waitress sequined.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
unzips
oh
her
my God.
fur, and she has more fur underneath.
More fur.
And then like a
Sequin vest.
sequined vest
Yeah.
and sequined hot pants.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
There's
it's
so
very
much going
confusing.
on
It's
in this scene.
unsettling. At one point, she grabs a thing and starts singing into it like a microphone, but it's not her tail. It's like a
It's something
pink
shaped like a tail.
thing. I want to say it's a piece of yarn, but
yeah,
it doesn't.
but it looks like slimy
It
almost.
looks like an intestine.
Yeah, it looks like an intestine.
But we don't see what it is or
No.
where it's coming from.
No.
And then at the end, you get Jason Derulo jumping in and just being like, "Ow!"
Yeah. And then I want to say it gets better from there, but it doesn't really. This like kind of puts you down into a pit that they keep trying to claw out of, for lack of a better term, and they never quite do.
They never quite do.
Like if you start with Jason Derulo's song, you might actually like have me for a little bit longer.
He is a surprisingly good performer.
Jason Derulo was a musical theater major, which I learned yesterday.
And he kills it in this movie.
Yeah.
For what it is.
Yeah, for what it is.
Right.
Like,
he sings the Rum Tum Tugger song, the Rum Tum Tugger. Mm-hmm. That's how it is done in the song, the Rum Tum Tugger. He's a cat that if you let him outside, he wants to come inside. And if you let him inside, he wants to go outside. That's the entire song.
No milk.
It's
Milk!
Yeah. Yes. Oh,
Jason Derulo's a great musical theater performer.
we already said that. You got to come up with a new compliment.
Oh, man. Okay.
The compliment alarm went off.
I will say that, like, some of the stagings, right, in terms of, like, what they're doing, make certain songs interesting. And I think Milk Bar is maybe one of them. That in this Milk Bar, which doesn't really make sense, you have cats on different layers.
Sure.
You have some lighting going on. This scene is kind of fun. And I think like McCavity is similar to that. I think
Right.
Skimbleshanks is probably the most successful, even though that train track green screen looks really
Terrible.
weird.
Yeah.
You have some genuine moments of stagecraft, and I think when this movie just lets it be that,
Yeah.
it's better than like, oh, we can make digital mice, we can make cockroaches, we can. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that was nice.
Those are great trees.
We've said
What were those, oaks?
2 nice things about cats so far, haven't we?
Yeah, we haven't said anything nice about the Lion
Sorry.
King. So, yeah.
Is there anything in the Lion King that lends itself well to the staging? Right. In general, the documentary style is not successful here.
So,
And it's weird because I'm thinking of like scenes that are one-to-one that just made my jaw drop of how unsuccessfully they were working on a screen. And it doesn't, like, framing wise, it doesn't look all that different.
sure.
Like I'm thinking like about the Everything the Light Touches scene.
Right. So here's what I wanna say about this documentary style. Mm-hmm. I think there are times where it works. Mm-hmm. As far as the backgrounds, as far as the framing, as far as the sets. Mm-hmm. The characters is where it falls flat, and we'll get into that. But I think there's like a scene where we're following a mouse around, and that's nice. Is it appropriate for the movie? Does it work for the movie? I don't think so.
There's
a scene where we see like baby Simba like chasing or like stalking a lizard. Mm-hmm. Like there's a couple of scenes where we see like little cats playing, and they're awesome. They're great scenes. No one's talking,
right?
And they're just having fun, and it's just like I'm watching a documentary, and I think that works. But for, like you said, Everything the Light Touches, this is a cinematic scene. It needs a cinematic touch because this is like, shadows don't work in the way that we're trying to do it. It's, you forgive the non-realism because it's a great cinematic flair. It's telling a story. By making that documentary style, you take out all of that.
And so, like, you still get essentially a shot for shot. In this scene, I think, is one of them, that you have, like, you go behind them and you see the silhouettes of the big lion and the tiny lion. And it, like, works for a second. And then you're like, well, why isn't there any color on the screen?
Right.
And I don't really care about what the characters are saying because their faces aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
And, like, to make a James Earl Jones vocal performance completely lackluster is actually impressive.
I will also say one of the scenes that you got just angry at is the log Simba growing up, walking across the log scene in Hakuna Matata. The characters are not doing what they should be doing. But I will say that the scenery of that is beautiful.
Yeah, I like
think-
Timon and Pumbaa's jungle.
Yeah, I think that jungle
Set.
looks really nice. I think there's a waterfall that looks really beautiful. There's all this very realistic mist. It's really cool. But what doesn't work about the documentary style, Kate?
Well, I mean, lots. Are you looking for a specific answer right now?
Sure,
It's-
yeah.
I mean, faces are the most,
Yes,
right?
that's what I was looking
Like
for, yes.
this original story, it has such memorable characters, and that's one of many reasons why the film works so well, is that
Yeah.
you come out and you know every single character, because there's not that many characters.
Right.
And in the animated version, they do the Disney silhouette thing. And even when they have similar silhouettes, like Baby Simba, Baby Nala, completely different color palettes, completely different like eye shapes and things like that. And you totally lose that here.
Yeah.
So you're just seeing documentary lions, and I'm not telling apart lions in a documentary. Like,
the only lion that, like, I can identify the difference between a boy lion and a girl lion.
Sure.
Because they have manes or don't. And I can tell Scar in many scenes.
in many scenes, but not as many as you would hope.
Oh, especially not at night.
Yeah.
Like, because Scar, and they, Jon Favreau talks about this on the commentary. Like, Scar in the movie has a black, or in the cartoon, in the animated version, has a black mane, which is one of the ways we tell them apart. The other way is that he's like very lanky.
Very lanky and angular.
Yeah.
In ways that like lions aren't.
So, like, just by silhouette or by coloration, I can tell who this character is. In the new movie, in the 2019 movie, he does not have a black mane.
He has some black like shags.
He has a dirty mane.
Yeah.
But Favreau says that a black mane would be a more dominant lion, so they couldn't give him a black mane. So he just looks like crap.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's like slightly more gaunt than Mufasa,
Slightly.
but not enough. Like there are some scenes, especially the first time we saw it, where we're like, wait, who? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And because the voices don't sound different enough either. That like you said, the actor who plays Scar, I'm blanking on his name,
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
is apparently a great Shakespearean actor.
I've seen him in. Oh God, what did I see him in? Anyway, he's in at least one Shakespeare like movie.
Yeah.
Or like a BBC production. He's in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
And by a combination of a lot of things, he never ever pops for me vocally.
No.
Like, he's doing a fine job on his own, I guess. But, like, I mean, part of what makes Scar's character so memorable is a little bit of campiness and the over-the-topness. Like, you know, it's unfortunate that I have Jeremy Irons' performance imprinted in my brain when I'm watching this other guy, because it's like, well, sorry.
Yeah, you're not doing that.
You're not doing it. And because these performances rely so much on the voice, because you have nothing in the face or the body that is supporting any of the character emotions or arcs, it's all on the vocal performances. And Favreau even says that in the commentary.
Says we're relying, because these characters can't emote, we're relying entirely on the vocal performances.
And that one doesn't work because it doesn't pop, and I can't. Oh, and because James Earl Jones has aged enough, and like he's not putting his all into this movie.
He is not.
Fine.
James Earl Jones has not been. He has been phoning everything in for a while.
He has earned the right to just collect a paycheck at this point. No problem.
Absolutely. But when they're like,
but they don't sound
like,
very different in many of the scenes
can
where
you do
they.
Darth Vader again? He's like, yeah.
In this,
Luke, I'm your dad.
in their scene partner scenes, I can't rely on the voice or the visual to tell them apart.
Right. Because
So
they both have like deep voices.
And voices that aren't doing anything super extra of their normal voices. And so I really have to rely on the dialogue that I know from the original.
Yeah.
Which I guess brings, like... I've said this a couple times, and you've challenged me.
I continue.
Do you think... So my opinion is I do think I've been extreme in saying that I would have no idea what's going on in this movie if I hadn't seen 1994. I don't think that's true.
That's not true at all.
But I think I would be pretty confused. I think I would be like Moana or Frozen 2 level confused of like, well, wait, did this happen? Like, I would forget a lot of scenes where they have technically told me what's happening, but it's not imprinting in any sort of way to make me remember it in the next scene.
My question then is why?
Well, I think because it's all tell and no show, right? Mm-hmm. You want to, in any kind of movie, animated or otherwise, you want to do more showing than telling, and this is all tell. I can't really rely on their voices, and I think that's partly a digital for technology thing, and I don't think they're well directed vocally.
No, I assume it's Favreau in charge of the voice.
Yeah,
terrible.
They're not well directed.
Like they're very badly directed. Mm-hmm. I hate. Can we talk about John Oliver?
Yeah,
let's talk about John Oliver. John Oliver is a funny person.
A personality we love personally.
He has a very funny voice, a very animated voice.
Yeah.
And we've seen him now in 2 animated movies and hated him both times.
He was the only part of the announced vocal cast that I was actually like, oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know what? John Oliver would be a great Zazu.
Yeah.
Cool.
He was not.
Sucked
the funny out of the room.
Yeah. Like he was the only one. He was one of the only actors I feel that was like really going for it.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that.
But
so you wanted him to succeed, but it was like his Porcupine and Wonder Park. I'm like, I think you're supposed to be funny and entertaining, but I don't care. I just want you off the screen.
John Oliver, I feel like, is like Lin-Manuel Miranda. Like if you know how to write for Lin-Manuel, which only Lin-Manuel does, apparently.
And John Oliver and his staff,
yeah,
right?
Like if you know how to write for Lin-Manuel, he's great. Like he's really great in Hamilton. He's really great in the Heights. In like Mary Poppins, you can't give him a thing you'd give a normal actor because he does not do it well.
Yeah, he has a very specific style. We love Lin-Manuel Miranda, but watch Mary Poppins Returns and get back to us.
And the same with John Oliver. Like on his show, great. When his staff is writing for him, unlike The Daily Show, stuff like that, where his style is used, it's great. You give him normal actor lines, and it's just a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same with like Donald Glover. Very funny, very charismatic.
Oh my God, I love Donald Glover.
I am like, nothing about his performance stands out.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, so the core, I think, group, like this movie got pretty indifferent, like kind of scathingly indifferent reviews across the board. Like, you know, Beauty and the Beast was like, okay, we see why this is elevated, whatever. And even like the, you know, your whatever, USA Today and Good Morning America that I'll give it.
That's our,
we're online.
Our Say Something Nice alarm. I've got it.
Okay, go.
Okay.
We can both do one.
I'll go first. I thought Billy Eichner did a really good job. For what it was, Billy Eichner sings well.
Billy Eichner has he's
got a very good voice.
Yeah.
He was funny. Mm-hmm. He had a couple of improv lines. Like Seth Rogen, I think was okay.
Yeah.
But like Eichner had a couple of lines that made me laugh that were not in the original movie.
Well, and
I think he's not bad at Timon.
I think he's not bad at Timon, and it's an example of where they pushed a little bit into what is Billy Eichner known for and what is he good at.
Yeah.
That, like, you disgust me. Go ahead, say farted. Like, that's a very Billy Eichner line.
Giving him, like, kind of a screamy line. Giving him, like, a really intense,
Yeah, in the same way that the one John Oliver line that worked in Wonder Park is... Have you heard the joke about hydration? No, because hydration is not a joke. Like, that was a very John Oliver line.
Yeah. What nice thing do you want to say about The Lion King?
J.D. McCrary, Little Simba.
Oh, yeah.
Great vocally.
Oh, man. So good.
He didn't need the direction, apparently, because I don't think he's played it on Broadway, but I feel like he should. He had this, like, energy that like I wasn't distracted by his voiceover, which is a good thing. Like
Right.
I was drawn. I do think that maybe Little Simba is on the aggregate the most compelling character in this movie. And it's because of all the heavy lifting that J.D. McCrary's doing.
Yeah.
His Just Can't Wait to Be King sounds fun. Like, aside from Circle of Life, where you have Lebo and you have a former Broadway Rafiki singing it, it's the only song that, like, okay, like, looking at it, I'm like, all right. But listening to it, I'm like, cool.
fine, yeah.
Because we listened to the soundtrack before we saw this movie.
Yeah.
And, like, some of the songs were like, well, this doesn't work.
This doesn't
but
work
this
at
was one
all.
of the songs where, like, oh,
Yeah.
this kid can do it.
Yeah, that's true.
But what I was about to come to
Yes.
is this movie was universally panned and indifferent, except for Beyonce fans, right? She's got an army, and that's good. Beyonce is immensely talented. She's a rock star. She's so good. Like, any concert of her, like, I saw the whole Homecoming concert.
Mm-hmm.
She's incredible.
Technically not a rock star,
Well,
pop star.
anyway, she is so good, and when she was coming out of the movie, I'm like, oh no, they're gonna have to change the whole script. Like,
Yeah.
this is gonna be a weird Nala thing, kind of like they elevated LeFou in weird ways, and
Or they
Beauty and the Beast.
elevated like Belle's mom,
Yeah,
or even elevated Belle to make her like an inventor for a reason.
and then it's like, oh, she's gonna have a new song. I'm like, well, Shadowlands is good. That's a Nala song. Why not just use that
And that's
one?
from the Broadway
That's from the
musical?
Broadway one. So I'm like, oh, but I don't know. Like, if I was part of the Beehive, which I'm not an official part of that,
Right.
I'd be extremely disappointed in their lack of use of Beyonce.
Yeah.
They do not expand the character at all, and Nala is infamously a like very flatly
She's a nothing character.
drawn character in the original.
which is just it's what it is.
Doesn't really get an extra song. She just gets to
Beyonce-
sing an original song when they are running across the desert, where you normally hear the Busa ye Simbalo, Busa ye
Which I love. So instead, it's something. It's
Busa le Simba yo. Sorry, I got
like
my
it's
syllables.
a really cool dun 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 dun, dun high energy and
Yeah.
fun. And then instead, you got this like Beyonce song, which just does nothing for me.
It's basically the Free Willy song from the
Yeah.
end of the movie, the Michael Jackson one.
It's such a bummer. And like I don't care about Beyonce. I don't like Beyonce.
So I
But-
really enjoyed her in Dreamgirls. She can act, but
Right.
again, she's not being directed here.
But yeah, like I was gonna say, if you take a giant pop star and you're gonna put her in a movie, put her in a movie where she's gonna fit.
Yeah.
Because like Lion King isn't that movie.
Yeah.
You should not cast a giant celebrity as Nala or Sarabi or whatever Nala's mom's name is, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's the purpose of that? Unless you're gonna change the movie, and then why?
Yeah.
But she could like I've been thinking of like places where you could put Beyonce in like different Disney movies, and there's basically every other Disney movie has at least one really strong female role.
Yeah.
Put her in that.
Also, I think there are ways you can expand the role of Nala.
Sure.
The Broadway production does it.
Right.
And it does it pretty well. She's still not the most important character. Like, that you can't, 12%, right?
Right.
But do what that, like, she almost got a scene with Scar,
No.
and then she doesn't. They replace that with Sarabi. Like, if you have her, like, right, like, what it all comes back to is that tweet that came out with the trailer that I love so much. It's what a tremendous waste of resources.
Yeah,
Because
just
Beyonce
absolutely.
got insanely paid for this movie
Oh, yeah.
for her, like, what, 8 lines
8 lines in one song.
and one song. And she wrote a companion album to it of original songs.
Sure.
Which I've heard some of the songs. They're good. They're like, I
Yeah.
don't care about it as a Lion King companion piece, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's not Lebo.
Yeah, it's not Lebo. Yeah. So it's just, they spent so much money, and they earned so much money. They're printing money with these remakes
Yeah.
for nostalgia purposes. But
I
I will
would
say
say-
this is the first one that people got out of, and they like couldn't really defend.
Yeah.
Like, I had friends that went to see Aladdin, like, no, guys, it's really good. Like the original if you like, but there are some things in this movie that are better. And
Right.
no one was saying that about The Lion King.
And I would even say, like, they made a lot of money on ticket sales, but, like, compared to The Lion King original, which, like, we've still recently bought merchandise of.
Yes.
We will buy on, like, double Blu-ray or whatever when the next thing comes out. I haven't seen a Lion King 2019 shirt. I've seen a ton of Hakuna Matata shirts with Timon and Pumbaa.
So right, it's
animated.
they released merchandise.
Yeah.
It looks terrible. Like they released a real quote unquote Simba plush and the pop dolls or whatever.
Ugh.
And it's just it tanked. I don't see any of it in stores anymore.
Yeah.
It's all original Lion King merchandise.
And you're a teacher. You would know if something was popular with the kids.
Well, but I saw it for like 2 months, right?
Yeah.
And there was even some side-by-side stuff where you're like, I'm looking at two Simbas. One looks terrifying. One looks adorable. Which one am I going to buy?
Get.
But that stuff is like cleared out of stores now. You cannot find it anywhere. And it's less than a year.
Everything's cleared out of stores.
Well, right. We're not allowed to go in stores anymore. But it's like, in 3 months, it all went away because they realized that they can't sell this stuff that looks shitty.
That just looks terrible.
Yeah, so going back to Nala and how she could have had some actual expansion to her story.
Yeah.
They didn't really have time for it
Like
because
she got like an extra line or two and then
Yeah.
a song, but they also took away stuff from her.
yeah, and I mean, I get it because they needed time to tell the new Shenzi subplot that they added in for reasons.
Okay, so to take from Lindsay Ellis a little bit, girl boss Shenzi. What do you know? I don't remember at all what the deal is. She is
No, Dick, we've seen this movie 2 times. I don't know what happens in it.
Shenzi.
So in the original,
Yeah.
Shenzi is one of 3 hyenas, and it's got some kind of classic animated trio dynamics
Yeah, they
going
got
on
like
where there's like
Three Stooges kind of.
Yeah.
A mean one,
And
a
she
dumb
is
one, and then a crazy one.
more or less the leader of that.
she's-
Like she's the most dominant
She's the leader of that
personality
group
in that
of 3,
group.
yes. But
But-
in this, so Shenzi is like the leader of all hyenas,
Right.
and Scar like makes a deal with her.
So Scar, I didn't realize this till second viewing, and still you had to tell me. Scar, in this 2019 version, Scar meets the hyenas right before Be Prepared, right?
Yeah, he knows they're there, but he has to like ally with them.
But because in the original, you get right after, you deliberately disobeyed me, I practically gift wrapped those cubs for you.
Yeah.
So it's not even implied. It's stated right there that he is already in partnership with the hyenas.
Which, fine, I don't need the
No.
story of that.
I know that he's bitter against his brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
this makes sense.
Good, got the story.
Yeah.
I figured it out.
He's already plotting. But yeah, here he has to create an alliance, and so he and Shenzi are like the mediation representatives, right?
Yes, yeah.
And
And like Shenzi, as a result,
Mm-hmm.
has less screen time
yeah,
by like, quote, elevating her character.
yeah,
She has less screen time than when she was just one of 3 hyenas.
right. And she's less memorable because at least the other 2 hyenas who are not named Banzai and Ed, and
Yeah.
you couldn't pay me enough to make me remember what
and
their
also
names are.
who have almost the same voice
Yeah.
and almost the same personality.
But at
So
least they make
what's
jokes.
their deal? Yeah.
So you're like, oh, those are the joke hyenas.
yeah.
And right, like the whole hyenas laugh. That should be what the characters derive from. And
Yeah.
Shenzi is just this serious nothing character.
And also
Does she even laugh in the movie?
looks like every other hyena.
Also, hyenas are not pleasant to look at.
Oh, they are not.
In real life, they're like dogs who have had reconstructive surgery that have gone wrong.
Yeah, they look like
like hyenas can't help it. That's their biology.
They
but
look like dogs that are like in Hollywood and they're 60, so they've had like a lot of work done.
I mean, they look most like pit bulls, like, right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
which are not known as the prettiest of dog breeds.
No.
But they have endearing features. Like, and these hyenas are not.
You could make a
fun to
hyena
look at.
endearing.
Yeah.
Just like you could make a warthog endearing instead of
Oh, yeah.
terrifying.
So what does Shenzi's plot add? I would argue that it adds nothing, and it
takes away
complicates.
clarity.
Yeah.
Like that's part of why I think the plot is suddenly hard to remember and follow. Oh, time to say something nice. 12-minute timer. Say something nice about The Lion King.
And we're talking about plot now,
say
so
something
it's
nice
even
about the plot of The Lion
even
King.
easier to there's some neat camera work that happens during the chase scene with the hyenas and the lion cubs.
Right.
Like they burrow into little things.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in the original.
There's some really cool shots there.
So you get like that kind of tightening in. It's
Yeah.
not so much based on lighting, it's based on confined spaces.
Okay.
That's something.
Back to shitting on this. So what this movie does that all of the other movies, the other live action movies do, that like every movie does for some reason in the year 2010 through 20 still
20 stuff.
is over explains everything. And Patton Oswalt has a great bit on one of his albums about the Star Wars prequels. And the bit is like, I won't do it justice, but like George Lucas, he meets him in a park, and George Lucas is like, "Hey, I'm working on a new Star Wars movie. Aren't you excited?" He's like, yeah, I really am. He's like, "Oh, you like Darth Vader?" "Yeah, I do." "Well, you're going to see him as a little kid, and he's going to miss his mom." Oh, that sounds terrible. The ending line of that whole bit is, I don't care about where the things I like come from.
Yeah.
I just like the things I like. I don't want rock salt. I just want ice cream. I
Yeah.
I don't want flour. I want bread. I don't care about why Shenzi and Scar have an alliance. That doesn't matter to me. And that's something like, if I want to think about that, I can think about that. I don't need an answer.
Well, that's
to
what
that.
like fanfic is for, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Or like Lion King 1.5, right? Which is like, we're gonna just cover some stuff
like
that wasn't in it.
semi-canonical. Yeah.
But like, I don't care about Belle's mom. I don't need to know. She's not in the movie. Done. I don't need to know about
Gaston in the War, like that's
what the hell
that's a
was that?
premise that
I
is
forgot
never
about that.
followed through on.
Yeah, I don't
Successfully.
I don't need to know about like, I know there's stuff in Aladdin that's annoying, but I can't remember it offhand.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't need to know the stories of these things. I just want to hear the story.
Yeah.
I want to experience the story. I don't need to be explained. This isn't The West Wing. This isn't Star Trek. I don't need 20 minutes of explaining things. Just give me the story.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that happens in Cats too, right?
Yes.
By trying to
Oh my
give it a
God.
plot, it actually ends up complicating this thing. I think there are some ways for me that it works because I'm so opposed to the original
You
musical
really
of not
hate-
having a plot at all.
But you just really like a plot structure. Like, to the point that you are like a little bothered in Miyazaki movies sometimes when there's not like a real plot thread. There's just things that happen.
Yeah, I want to know what I'm working toward.
Right.
And Miyazaki has helped me kind of expand what that can be. It
Right.
doesn't have to be a plot. It can be an aesthetic, but you can't argue aesthetic in Cats for
Right.
what you're working toward. So things they add. We already talked about Victoria is
She's
a role in this show and is not really
she's in the original musical, but she's not
super
a
minor cat.
main character.
She gets like a half a song with
Right.
Grisabella, right, as like a pre-praise to memory. But she is the audience role. She's like the proxy for the audience in this.
Which is a pretty good way to do this.
I
if
don't
you're gonna
mind
do
this choice.
Yeah, you've got a fish out of water. She's learning about this new thing because all the songs in Cats, the musical, the theater musical, or the whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it, are
Stage
sung
show.
out to the audience, and it's all these cats saying, "Hey, I'm so and so. this is what I do.
Look at me.
Hey, I'm so-and-so. Or, hey, this is so-and-so. Like the Magical Mr. Mistopheles
Right.
is sung about him. But it's all to the audience directly, which it would be weird in a movie.
Yeah.
It'd be
so
a lot.
So the choice to make Victoria kind of that audience figure, I don't mind.
Right.
I don't think they give her enough motivation or any kind of relevant characteristics to make it completely effective.
She's
but
curious.
well,
She's excited to be there.
so is the Rum Tum Tugger is a curious cat.
That's fair. But no, like that's her whole thing is she's excited to be there.
She is abandoned.
Where-
The premise is she's abandoned. So
But any scene she's in, she's like, oh, I'm excited about this scene.
Yeah.
I'm excited about, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Like that's her entire motivation throughout most of the movie.
McCavity is new. Everything he does besides his regular song is new.
So
Dick, how successful do you think this kidnapping plot is?
it's not. It's so weird. So McCavity is played by Idris Elba, whose fur is the same color as Idris Elba's skin.
Yeah.
And it is shorter than the other cat's fur. So it looks like he's just a nude Idris Elba
Panther, like
with-
it's less of a cat.
without junk.
Yeah, no one has junk
Yeah.
or buttholes.
No, all the female cats still have human breasts.
Kind of.
Kind
Taylor
of.
Swift's are most.
Taylor Swift especially.
They mostly have unibreasts, except for Taylor Swift,
Yeah.
who has two.
But yeah, Idris Elba looks uncomfortable in this film. And he
also has, I think even less so than Rebel Wilson, he has the least amount of singing and dancing
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, and
He comes off slightly better than Rebel Wilson, but he does look uncomfortable when he's doing it the whole time.
but also watching him do it live, watching him do it on the behind the scenes stuff. Oh man, that looks great. I want to see that. I want to see Idris Elba dance. We don't see that. We see an animated character mimicking
Nude
the
panther
dance moves of
cat.
Idris Elba. But he looks like he looks like he'd be a lot of fun to watch on stage. I'd love to see him in something. So he is kidnapping all the other cats because he wants to be chosen to go to the Heaviside Lair,
Jellicle choice.
which is like he would die and then be born again as a different cat.
It's unclear what happened. It's like you get another chance, but where you only see Jennifer Hudson float up in her chandelier hot air balloon
Yeah.
to apparently that like cat eyes cloud is the Heaviside Layer, according to Tom Hooper.
To be clear, it's going to sound when we say it, and it's going to sound in the movie like they're saying lair, L-A-I-R.
No.
It's Heaviside
Layer
Layer.
of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Up
Up to the Heaviside Layer. But they sing it lair,
Yeah.
so it's very confusing.
It's very confusing.
I mean, not that either one makes
Yeah,
more
the idea
sense.
they would get reborn, but like you would think that among all the Jellicle cats, there's like one or two who have like. Is Victoria a recently reborn
Is anyone
from
had
the
been
last
reborn
Jellicle
before?
choice?
It's not.
Yeah.
Kate, how would you describe McCavity?
McCavity.
If you had
McCavity,
one word to describe McCavity,
Meow.
what about if I gave you another word?
Ineffable.
What about one more?
McCavity.
When Idris
my
Elba,
God.
when he kidnaps people, they both disappear, and you just hear him go, McCavity,
He just says a word,
ineffable,
and it like,
meow.
and sometimes he repeats a word, like
Yeah.
he says ineffable twice,
Yeah.
and McCavity twice.
Yeah,
It's
McCavity.
and it's just the most ridiculous.
Yeah,
And although my favorite one that he actually doesn't say anything is
yes.
at the end of Skimbleshanks.
So Skimbleshanks is a railway cat who's dressed like Freddie Mercury and Mario.
The Mario engineer hat.
And
he tap dances.
He does a tap dance. He starts spinning at the end of his tap dance.
He's been tapping. Then he does a tap spin, and then he starts lifting off the ground, and he keeps spinning like a corkscrew all the way up. And you're like, "What? This is higher than a normal cat could jump." And then he goes almost to the ceiling, and then poof, magic dust
disappears.
And now he's on the boat, so he can tap dance fight while James Corden is throwing hairballs at Growl Tiger in order to keep Judi Dench from walking the plank on this boat in the middle of the Thames.
Rebel Wilson do not shut up this whole movie. They just keep improvising, and it keeps being terrible.
I feel like Tom Hooper has never, like he's someone who's, like, never gone to an improv show, so he's, like, impressed by anyone who even tells him, like, I'm improvising. Tom Hooper's like,
Hooper has never seen comedy.
Or maybe a musical.
So Tom Hooper saw Cats when he was 10, and he's wanted to do this since then.
I will stand by that Tom Hooper has not seen a musical. Okay.
But Rebel Wilson says things like, "Oh, I could dance like that if I wanted to."
Oh, do you think he's been neutered? Like, she doesn't say neuter. She goes snip, snip, right?
No, she says neutered.
She says neutered.
Because some of those notes are high.
Yeah.
Snip, snip.
They shouldn't have allowed them to
That's the
improvise.
jokes. That's the jokes, everyone.
Yeah.
And Tom Hooper's like, I've never heard a joke before. Let's put it in
there.
The
one they should have put in was one that I read about where James Corden, after Growl Tiger introduces himself in like a 10-second song that he improvised. Oh, are you just introducing yourself? That's what I just did. It's already been done. Which that's funny.
I didn't mind Corden's joke about the River Thames.
It doesn't rhyme with
because the guy rhymes Thames
with something Ames.
Yeah, but it's kind of
I don't know.
It's kind of a joke about how the musical does a slant rhyme. I don't. So it's terrible. Kate, do we have anything else? Can we just go to the final cut?
I think we can go to the final cut.
I want to say
we've dragged down these movies enough.
If you haven't seen Lion King 2019. Good.
Don't.
If you haven't seen Cats, you should see it.
See it with friends. Like, we actually did, in quarantine, we did like a live text with a bunch of our friends who had never seen it before.
Yeah.
It was super fun.
And if you like I love watching bad movies. I think it's really fun to do.
This is in that like small pocket of movies that are so bad. Like, there are so many wild choices being made that it is the train wreck you cannot look away from. Not like the train wreck where you're like, oh, like every 10 minutes there's something really funny that's happening.
Yeah, like this is up there for me with like a Trolls 2 or like
The
Room or a Birdemic. The Apple. Oh my God. Yeah, I want to see this.
I think this is more minute for minute entertaining than The Apple. The Apple's got some dead space.
The problem the problem with this movie as a haha, isn't this so bad, it's so fun, is that Jennifer Hudson really knocks it out of the park.
So,
She's so good.
Should we start with scene shout out?
Oh, well, first, this is our final 12-minute alarm.
Great.
Kate, there we go. Let's say something nice about Cats or Lion King.
Scene shout out is
say
what we're
something
gonna...
nice first.
Honestly, Cats is entertaining.
Yeah.
We will watch it again.
Yeah. We bought the Blu-ray.
Because it is and I think some of it is the performance. Like, we already mentioned there's really talented dancers, but like Jennifer Hudson is giving her all, and like
she's so good.
Yeah, and I don't like Robbie Williams.
Robbie Benson.
Robbie Benson, Robbie Fairchild. Really fun to watch his facial expressions.
Yeah. And the choreography, we should say, is Andy Blankenbuehler, who's like multiple Tony Award winning now. Yeah. Because he did In the Heights, right?
He did.
He did Hamilton for sure.
He definitely did Hamilton. He did Bring It On.
Yeah, I feel like he's choreographed, like after Hamilton, I feel like he choreographed everything for a while.
Yeah, he did the Broadway revival of Cats that was open for like a year, and then they realized, people won't pay for this anymore.
But yeah, the choreography is great.
It is, yeah.
It's like, again, like amazing talent in this movie.
And
these dancers are spectacular.
We watched a featurette where Blankenbuehler was really excited that like these giant sets are just playgrounds for
Yeah,
choreography.
we
Like
just
it
do
is a
whatever we
scene
want.
partner. This like big chair is a
Mm-hmm.
scene partner for you, and I feel like I see that like
Yeah, and if it wasn't completely digitaled over, so that I don't get any of the
Right.
thrill of the dance,
right.
then it would be really cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Kate, you ready
Uh-huh.
for the final cut?
I'm ready for the final cut.
Let's start with a scene shout out.
Yep.
Let's start with you and start with Cats.
So, do you have another one besides the one we just started?
Absolutely.
Great. I will shout it out. Jennifer Hudson is great in Memory.
Yeah.
She is giving, Anne Hathaway Fontaine level energy through this whole thing.
And Anne Hathaway Fontaine level snot.
Doesn't always work because it's not all I dreamed a dream in Memory. There are some other scenes in there that maybe dial it back a bit, but Memory works really well. She starts at understated and really like weak, and then by the end with that key change that
When she hits that.
touch me, it's so easy. Like,
So much power in that voice.
and this
Holy
has been
cow.
spoken about that like Cats has done these like rowdy screenings at Alamo Drafthouse, and Natalie Walker, if you have not been following Natalie Walker
Oh
or
my
listening
God.
to every single interview that she has given about
Yeah.
Cats, she's not in Cats. She
No.
just is obsessed with it and has the best commentary on
And
it.
she is
Was it
like
Flophouse that we
the-
listened to?
She was on the Flophouse, yeah.
Episode of Cats.
Great,
Really good.
great
She's got
bad
some great
movie
stories.
podcast. Yeah. And Natalie Walker is a theater person.
Yes. And she will say, she's like, even in the rowdy screenings, that like Memory, the theater goes silent.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one is laughing because we are all there to enjoy that
it's
scene.
so good.
Which is like the one genuinely good scene and
Yeah.
song in the movie.
And-
Jellicle Cats is very catchy, but
Yeah.
it's chaos.
Yeah.
Memory's a good song.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Hudson sings the Jesus out of it,
Yeah.
and is really good.
Yeah.
Chills.
Yeah.
Dick.
So I'm gonna do a quick like runner up. Mm-hmm. Because we didn't mention it. There's a new song in Cats. Oh, there's
Yep, yeah.
there's a new song in Lion King. There's a new song in Cats that we forgot to mention. It is by Andrew Lloyd Webber and lyrics by Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Beautiful Ghosts. It comes before Memory or after Memory?
It is before Memory, but it's after like the pre like you've already
Yeah.
heard. Da, 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 da,
Yeah,
da,
Jennifer Hudson sings like
Yeah.
a small version of Memory before she comes out and sings the big one. Each cat kind of like sings the song of themselves. Yeah, Beautiful Ghosts. Really, really nice song. Really nice little scene.
It's got a nice melodic
Very
hook.
catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the I like the idea of beautiful ghosts being like your good memories. I like that.
Yeah. The message itself is a little problematic, but
It's a little bit of a problem, but it's fine.
yeah.
So, like a little mini shout out because I surprisingly like that. My scene shout out is Skimbleshanks. His entire scene is a blast because you start with it's Robbie Fairchild, right?
Is Skimbleshanks?
No, Robbie Fairchild is the
Munko
person's
Strap,
name.
yeah.
Yeah. So Robbie Fairchild is like, he starts singing about this guy Skimbleshanks, and I'm like, oh, is Robbie Fairchild Skimbleshanks? And then no, Freddie Mercury / Mario with a big mustache,
Yeah.
comes out, and he's Skimbleshanks, and he does
So,
like
and when we say Freddie Mercury, we
Yeah.
mean he's wearing bright red pants and red suspenders,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like,
yeah, and like a hat.
yeah, like a train conductor hat, but
And-
it's red.
And this guy comes out and he does a hell of a tap dance.
Mm-hmm.
He leads everyone down like a railway, which
Into
is
the
like,
train first. and
into the
then-
train. Yeah. And like the song is like kind of fun because again, like these lyrics are cute little poems about cats. So this cat is a cat that works on a train. Like in train lines, they would have cats to like take care of the mice problems. So if there were like mice, you'd have a cat on the train. The cat would eat the train mice. But the poem imagines him as like, oh, you know, like if you see a cat walking around, you might be like, oh, look at him. He thinks he's doing this.
He thinks
he's
he's people.
So in this case, it's like he thinks he is the one keeping the train safe and making sure everything runs on time and making sure everyone's happy. That's a cute little poem. And I think this is the one song where that comes across. I think it's the one song where it's successful because it's campy and silly.
Yeah.
And this cat is like super full of himself and self-important. And you see like, oh yeah, he's just a cat on a train. That's literally it. And I think that's a lot of fun. And this song gets stuck in my head because it's like the orchestration's really good. Like it's really well done. And it's the one same that I kind of feel like is ghost directed by Baz Luhrmann, who should have directed this movie because he would have been amazing at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my scene shout out. I love the Skimbleshanks song.
Yeah. I also want to give honorable mention, and I meant to do this in the plot.
Yeah, you do.
I understand.
You like it better than I do.
Magical Mr. Mistopheles is the only song in this movie that tells a story while it is being sung.
Yeah.
It is the only song that doesn't completely stop whatever like kind of plot there is to just introduce someone else I don't care about. Because he is attempting to get old Deuteronomy back to the Egyptian theater off the boat. And so each time in the musical, this song is just singing Magical Mr. Mistopheles like
It's
18 times in a row.
It's not, but sure. It's a song. It is a song with...
And is he doing magic in it just like for fun?
He's doing magic. He's a magical cat.
Yeah.
He's being introduced. He does some magic. It's basically the same song as Skimbleshanks or Rum Tum Tugger. It's a cat. He's introduced. He does his thing.
Well, here it is reimagined, which I think works better in like the first half of this scene.
Sure.
It is reimagined as a pep talk for magical Mr. Mistopheles, who isn't that good at magic. Like, and he's getting like very nervous
before this scene and after this
yeah,
scene, where
he
he's
does effects
amazing
for
at
Gus
it.
and stuff. But he's like getting nervous, and there's a lot of pressure, and so they keep on singing it. Then they'll get to the end of the chorus, and then nothing will happen, and then they'll start over again and give him a pep talk. Now it happens a few too many times, and it breaks up. You know what you have argued is like one of the strengths of the song is like this flow of the chorus.
Yeah,
when you get to do it a bunch of times, it's really jazzy and fun.
Of that,
yeah.
Like, it feels like a big brass, like dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun. Yeah.
So I get it, but I liked that there was thought into like, oh, could we tell a story with one of these songs?
Yeah, it was the one song
Let's try
that
it.
kind of was a musical.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
Because we each gave 2 for cats, can we just skip over Lion King scene shout out?
And I'll let you start with Lion King if you want to.
Yeah.
That way I don't somehow take yours.
Okay. So this...
Keep in mind, whatever you say, I will hold it against you for the rest of your life and remind you, oh yeah, you really liked The Lion King. You said this.
No, that's okay, because I don't think you can do it for this scene.
We'll see what happens.
In the original... Timon and Pumbaa are sent to be a distraction from the hyenas. This is See, you can't use it because you hate it.
Sucks.
They are sent to be a distraction by the hyenas. Timon says, "What am I gonna do? Put on a dress and drag and do the hula," and then they do a cute little hula song. Instead of that, here, what they do, and you're expecting that, right? Like it's the moment. This is one place where I maybe know what's going on in the movie. So you're expecting that. And then you hear bum bum bum, mesdames et messieurs, bum bum bum, and you're like, oh, that's clever. Not really clever, but like, oh, it's Be Our Guest.
Yeah.
They're doing a little show, and then once it would normally go to the song, then they run screaming away. And if you're gonna do some kind of reference, like, that's cute. This movie is unsalvageable anyway. So I'll take a Disney reference that I can get because I haven't, like you said, I think Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen are one of the more successful parts of this movie if you're looking at the whole thing. I don't think it means that they are successful, but in relation to everything else, they're watchable.
Right.
And I think this is a moment where it's taking advantage of that, of just like, well, great, let's have them sing a Disney song. It works here, and we can slide it in. And I didn't mind that moment. It was a new idea that didn't make me scream at the TV. It made me chuckle instead of, what are you doing? Why can't I see Mufasa in that cloud?
There's a rule that I feel like I first heard on Mystery Science Theater, where they said, never remind me of a good movie in the middle of your bad movie.
Yeah.
So...
but I don't know, if you're reminded by live action Beauty and the Beast, like, does that undo it?
That's fair.
If you remind me of a bad movie in the middle of your bad movie.
Or possibly better, because I liked Luke Evans in that.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's hard. Okay, so now I have to shout out a scene?
You sure can.
Okay, it's the poop.
You are joking.
I am joking. I hate the poop scene.
So dumb.
Super dumb.
Oh, but you know who loved the poop scene? Elton John.
No, he didn't.
Elton John loved the poop scene. Jon Favreau said so.
He said, when Elton saw this, he called this scene out specifically. Because Elton was looking for the one thing he could remember that was different. And he probably just says, like, yeah, that was different.
He's certainly not going to mention Alan Menken.
So... Here's what I'll say. There are some really fun scenes in Hakuna Matata Land.
Okay.
Where like there are a bunch of different animals like busting up anthills to eat grubs and stuff, and they're colorful and fun to look at.
Do you like that they have voices?
Nope. I do not.
That was one of the times where I screamed at the TV.
You remember where that lemur jumps? And it like catches a bug in midair or something?
Not really.
We'll watch this again.
That's maybe nice.
There's a lemur. It jumps. It catches like a bug in midair. It's got big old eyes.
I'm so hungry I could eat an antelope. What? Says the antelope.
Yeah,
way to ruin a joke.
Where suddenly Lion King devolves into like a Kevin James movie, like Zookeeper or something.
I understand the part about the colors. Yeah, it's the only time I get to see a color that's not brown.
Yeah.
In this movie,
Or
brown,
gray.
gray, or like
grays.
faded green.
Yeah, this movie is like every video game from the Xbox 360 era, where it's like, oh, we can make browns and grays.
Like so much so that I have thought that I missed the final circle of life both times I saw the movie. I'm like, oh, did I like fall asleep or did we turn it off before? Because that iconic moment in the original where like the Pride Lands have been desecrated by Scar, and then you see that like quick wash of brown to green where everything's grown back.
Yeah.
I think they kind of do that in this version, but it goes from like gray brown to just brown.
To like a green brown.
Like, but not even green.
Yeah.
So
Hey, Kate, who's your MVP?
Jason Derulo.
Okay.
Why not? He sings that super high soprano note in Mr. Mistopheles too, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Like he does it well. It shouldn't be there, but
he does it.
And like I feel like I have fun when I'm watching him in a way that I don't with almost anyone else.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Like I kind of want to get it fit to Taylor Swift for being like surprisingly good.
And in interviews.
And her interviews, like she's the only one that understands cats. I think.
That is inclusive of Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to give it to Ian McKellen because I genuinely love his performance in Cats. And I think he's the only cat that looks decent.
Yeah.
But if I'm really going to give this performance, it's going to be to Jon Favreau. Because he does the, quote, big bass drum at the beginning and end of Lion King, where it does that circle of life. Boom. Jon Favreau played that, quote, big bass drum.
Hans Zimmer let him.
No, if I'm gonna give a like a real MVP, I'll give it to Francesca Hayward.
Okay.
Or Haywood, I forget. She did great it's like, I think her first film.
Yeah.
It's Cats, and like, for like all the expression on people's faces, she had almost no lines and a super expressive face. I think she did a great job with what
like,
she had.
I think there's arguments to be made that, like, was it you who said that she always looks like she has to pee? Or
Yeah, she stands like she has to pee. It's the way her, like, it's like, I'm sure, like maybe a cat thing or maybe like a ballet stance.
Dancer thing, yeah.
But it just looks like she has to pee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's
Good.
who would have thought that we'd be dubbing Cats a better movie than anything?
Well, we're not there
when
yet.
we saw Cats.
Okay, crossover.
Oh boy.
Who you crossing over?
I
think I've got mine.
I might what if the lyricist of The Lion King and the composer of Cats got together and like looked at the New Testament and
Okay, but really,
I think
are you talking about Joseph?
I said New Testament, thank you very much.
I don't know which testament Joseph is in.
Old.
I don't know the Bible.
It's all there in chapter 39 of Genesis.
Oh, that's the first thing.
First book.
I know Matthew.
Yeah,
Mark,
Joseph's early on.
Luke, John, Paul,
Peter,
Ringo.
John, James. What would I do here? I might just send Hans Zimmer and Taylor Swift off to make a new song because I think it would be fine.
Yeah, actually.
Because Hans Zimmer does some good work in this new. He like fleshed out some orchestrations.
Oh yeah, the score. If you get the soundtrack and you don't listen to the sung songs,
Yeah.
are not great. Any of them.
No.
But the score, just like the orchestral background music, is so beautiful.
He's had 25 years to like tweak it.
And he probably had a bigger budget for a bigger orchestra for this. So it just sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer's super talented. I also think Taylor Swift is super talented as a songwriter. And I would love to see, like, musical theater, what collaborations they could do.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be similar. I think Hans Zimmer could make a Taylor Swift song sound more theatrical in the way that he did with Elton John songs. So yeah, I want to.
I didn't realize this was like a Beyonce versus Taylor Swift thing, but
Taylor Swift wins because they let her do more things.
Yeah,
that's like
cool. So here's my crossover.
Mm-hmm.
I take Jenny Anydots and James Corden, Cat.
Okay.
And I cross them over to The Lion King. They're just in a jungle somewhere.
They're just in a jungle.
And I replace them with Timon and Pumbaa.
Okay. All right.
So we've got like some real fun characters. And then I get rid of, I take Scar, and I guess he can be in Cats.
You're doing a lot of crossover.
And McCavity is now the bad guy.
Scar.
McCavity is now the bad guy of The Lion King. So that he looks different, he talks different, and maybe he'll sing a song instead of just speaking pre-prepared aloud.
They did that. Not a solid. They were going to take Be Prepared out. Do you think it's better?
No.
What they you just would have, because right now it's basically like it ends up just being kind of like a fascist army chant without any melody.
He talks Be Prepared, and then the only thing he does is say, Be prepared.
Yeah.
That's the only part that's sung.
And there are no marimbas. Like, it's just a wash.
It's yeah, no, if you're not going to do it, don't do it.
I think there's an argument. I think there's an argument for at least 4 songs in this movie, but I think there's an argument that Be Prepared is the best song in The Lion King.
Yeah. It's a great song.
Doing this to it.
It's a Disney villain song, which are like the most important. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh
no!
Oh my God! We didn't
There's so
talk
much to
about
talk
it.
about.
We didn't talk about it. Hey, Kate, look outside for me. Describe it. Describe the outside.
Well, since it's like sunshine and a blue sky and everything is bright, I would say stealing through the night. It's tonight, right?
Yeah, it's nighttime.
Tonight.
It's nighttime.
Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Can You
is
Feel
about
the
a
Love
blue
Tonight
sky.
is entirely in the daytime. Now, like in the original, it like starts in the day and then ends at night. But in the
It starts at dusk.
It starts at dusk and ends at night.
And ends at
In
night.
the 2019, it starts at dusk and ends at like slightly brighter dusk.
Yeah, a brighter dusk somehow. It's not even dusk. I mean, night's uncertainty must have been the guiding principle.
Like, can we just say if you're doing Can You Feel the Love Tonight, it should happen at night?
So Favreau did not mention nighttime during this. Like, I was waiting for him to be like, well, we're at the equator, so daylight hours are different.
Which I looked up. Kenya right now is 6:30 sunset.
Yeah. So thinnest device. It is ridiculous
It's so dumb.
to hear them singing that. Like, it further disservice to Donald Glover and Beyonce that they sound like fools singing this song during daylight. Like,
it's ridiculous.
oh man. What a tremendous waste of resources.
Oh my God. What do we got next?
Well, Dick,
We did our crossovers.
This
It's
is the time.
for the final
cut.
Okay, Kate.
Yeah.
We'll start with you, and
Let's start with Lion King.
We'll start with
right?
Lion King.
I think we should
Okay.
start with Lion King. Yep.
Do you re-release this perfect movie
Lion King
in the
2019.
2019? Do you re-release this perfect movie in the theaters the way it was? Do you do some sort of special edition where you make it longer because you want more of it, or do you throw it in the vault, never to be seen again?
Vault.
Just done.
Vault.
Just nothing redeemable. Just go.
Vault.
Fair. Do you want to say more?
Not. No.
Great.
The animators learned, the digital for technology is impressive. They look like lions, and that's the major weakness of it. And so, if you vaulted, it doesn't mean it never happened. They still learned all that technology. They might be able to use it for an actual thing.
We just never see this again.
I just don't know what you use this for.
Yeah.
I guess if we can never go outside again because of quarantine, you can continue making nature documentaries.
Yeah.
That would be the only use for it, right?
Right.
I don't want to see these characters anywhere else.
What characters?
Right.
Yeah.
Vault.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this because there's a version of this movie that I would be interested in seeing, which is no talking, no singing, just like Hans Zimmer and Lebo M's scores behind lions doing the movie, but not talking and singing, just doing the things that are in the movie. And I think that would be interesting to see. Do I think it would be good? Probably not.
Yeah.
So, do I want that special edition? And I've been thinking oh, you know what? I would love to see a Hollywood Bowl performance or a table read where.
So that's the thing with this cast,
Right.
is that it's not a bad cast. I would love to see Donald Glover read Simba.
For Simba or sing for Simba. But then I'm thinking do I really want that special edition? And no, I don't. I vault it.
Yeah.
This is in the vault. I don't care to see it again.
It's pretty easy. It is not entertaining. It is not redeemable. It is actively.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It just
actively bad.
sucks. Kate, what about Cats?
Cats. I think I think we're gonna end up on a similar page to this.
What about the critically panned movie Cats? Now, hold on. Real quick, I just want to check Rotten Tomatoes to see which got worse reviews, Cats or The Lion King, before we talk about this. Is that acceptable?
Sure.
Okay, so Cats on Rotten Tomatoes ended up with a 20%.
Is that critic or is that
That's
overall?
critic, an audience score of 53.
Uh-huh.
Let's see, The Lion King.
2019
got a 53% with an audience score of 88%.
88%? No one I know enjoyed this.
No, but no one I know rates things on Rotten Tomatoes.
Right,
so.
that's true.
So yeah, which of these movies?
I mean, these rowdy screenings are the way that Cats is meant to be seen,
Yeah.
right? It's so it is re-release. I guess it's special edition if you're going to say it's a rowdy screening, like come in
Right.
your cat ears and yell at the screen at different times.
Like Rocky Horror.
Right.
Like a midnight show of Rocky Horror. Like come in your cat ears, throw some litter at the screen or whatever.
Catnip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Yeah. Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that for you too?
No.
No. Ooh.
Special edition. I want to see a version of this. Same cast, same everything, except instead of a fully digital version, I just want to see them wearing costumes. I want to see them wearing costumes and face makeup.
Yeah.
Because there are so many great dancers that I know I'm not appreciating because it's like a digital character, and like it's not impressive for a digital character to do a spin, right?
Yeah.
Or to do a jump or whatever.
Well, right. I thought they were not jumping. Like I didn't know they were on harnesses and
Yeah.
fly systems. Like
but even just like jumping in the air.
right.
Right? Like if someone does a really cool like jump
Right,
in ballet, I don't know what the words are, but if someone does like a really cool move in ballet, that's really impressive when you see a human do it. But when you see a digital creature do it, you're like, well, yeah, but this creature could literally do anything. It's
Right.
digital.
Right.
Dancing has never really impressed me that much in animation at all, but especially digital animation where everything's like a little floatier. So I want a special edition where I just get to see the actors act, because I think Tom Hooper is the only person who did badly in Cats, and I don't think it's a great.
We were saying this last night. I was asking the question that like if they had successfully done the digital effects that they wanted to, which essentially looks like what you're saying, makeup
Right.
and costumes, like would this be a bad movie? Like the visual effects ruin it.
Yeah.
Just ruin it. And it's not the visual effect staff.
Right.
It is Tom Hooper's weird way of doing things and running out of time and money. And but yeah, like I said, the staging is not bad. Like, is this a kind of
The
okay
sets
movie?
are really interesting.
I mean, it's still Cats.
Yeah.
It's still
It's
Cats.
it's ridiculous, but it's supposed to be ridiculous.
Right.
Like, and again, like my other special edition option would be redo the entire thing, but with Baz Luhrmann at the helm. Like,
I mean, that would be a totally different movie.
He did Moulin Rouge, and that movie is campy and ridiculous and silly, with a couple of serious moments, and that's what Cats is. But Baz Luhrmann succeeded, where Tom Hooper spectacularly failed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to push back and say that Moulin Rouge is better written than Cats.
No,
but yeah.
I agree with that. But like, he manages to go from a weird, spinny love song where the moon is singing opera.
Yeah.
He goes from that to a very serious scene where a character is dying,
Right.
and you go with him on that journey. He makes that transition successfully. The Tom Hooper does not.
Yeah.
Because he's so focused on, I don't know, realism or consistency or something.
Well, and going back to like, these are both misunderstandings of
Yeah.
their source material.
Right.
The way, like, one of the reasons we couldn't get through more than like 10 minutes of Tom Hooper's commentary was he's taking this so very deadly seriously and adding so many layers to it in terms of motivation.
Yeah.
Where, like, Andrew Lloyd Webber famously told his producer when he started
Yeah,
doing that,
so
like,
he-
oh, it's about like stratospheres of British
Yeah,
class.
the
and-
producer
Hal Prince.
Hal Prince is like, Andrew, I don't get it. Is this about the British
first
ruling
pitched
class? Is this about the royal family?
Andrew wrote that Hal is about cats.
It's about cats.
That's it.
That's it.
And so, like,
It's cute poems about cats. Mm-hmm. That's what the source material is. That's what the Broadway version is. Is it's cats singing about being cats. Mm-hmm. That's all it is.
and you
to
can like it or leave it, but
Yeah.
what?
But to try and make it something more, it just doesn't work.
It's a it's a fail of epic proportions. Same with Lion King.
No,
And no one wants singing lions. No one asked for that.
no one asked for that. But speaking of asking for things, if you'd like to ask
Hey.
us to put a movie or a pairing,
No one asked for this episode except for the two of us.
yeah,
so
we needed to talk about this. I'm
if
sure
you want
can
us to talk
tell.
about other movies that are good,
But yeah, like if you have something you want us to take a look at, whether it's good or bad,
Yeah.
if you're like, yo, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, I need someone to analyze it, we're happy to do that. Yeah, so if you have something, an animated movie that you want us to talk about, or a pair of animated movies you want to talk about, you can hit us up at Cellmates Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, cellmatespodcast@gmail.com. We also have a website that will eventually evolve into something a little more than it is right now, but eventually. I'm trying to be productive in quarantine, but I am not being productive in quarantine.
and that website is cellmatespodcast.com.
That's correct. Absolutely it is.
Well, Dick,
Yeah.
we've reached Dick.
Yeah.
I'm looking straight out at you with my two eyes,
Yes.
staring at you, and I
Yes.
want to tell you, a cat is not a dog.
Yeah. That's true.
And I'm going to keep staring at you for
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Like Judi Dench does at the
Like
end of the movie.
Judi Dench does
Just stares
at the end
out.
of the movie. You think it's done.
It's weird that Taylor Swift has like a English accent
Yeah, it's not very good.
for part of it. But she doesn't for the rest of the song. Just the cavity is not there.
I think she thinks she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for Cellmates Podcast, I'm Dick Ward.
Kate Phillips.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
McCavity.
Meow.
Breath support.
I'll show you. All right.
Stairs up or down. Either's a night.
Either way is a nightmare.
Well, there goes our plan.
Well, okay.